Okay, who wants to have a rational discussion about gender issues that neither excludes nor demonizes men? HBR Talk with Hannah Wallen. In August of 2014, feminist outlet Elite Daily published a listicle titled If I Were a Boy, featuring images of 12 feminist bloggers holding signs containing their projections regarding gender differences and how children are treated, and basically how boys are somehow responsible for that narrative. One of the most laughable images featured a slightly miffed-looking young woman whose sign said, "If I were a boy, I'd take the time to have a conversation." Well, of course you would, princess. You would need to, because there are some serious issues that need to be discussed. Discrimination against boys in education, fathers in family court, men in general in the criminal court, and male partners of female abusers under intimate partner and sexual violence law all come to mind. When a man or boy is a victim of domestic violence, he has few, if any, places to go for help. If he's victimized in the workplace, is his complaint taken seriously? If his wife leaves him, why is he responsible for her standard of living after the divorce if she's not equally responsible for his? Those are necessary conversations, important to both sexes. Of course we should take the time to have them, and guys have been begging to do that for decades. Yeah, m'lady would most certainly take the time for it if she were a boy, but she's not, so she doesn't have to. She can just stand in front of a camera holding a whiny, stereotype-perpetuating sign to create an image for a listicle that other feminist whammon will read while cheering, "Yes!" and "You go, girl!" as no conversation of any kind actually takes place. What happens when a guy offers to actually start one? Ask Dr. Warren Farrell. For years, his manner of conversation was thoroughly accepted by feminists, as it struck them as strictly a discussion about how men can support women's advancement in society. His decades-long career includes several books, university teaching, public speaking on gender issues, awards like the California Association of Marriage and Family Therapists Award for Outstanding Contribution to the Field of Psychology in 1988, and the Pioneer in the Psychology of Fatherhood Award from OnStep Institute for Mental Research in 2000. He's served on the boards for multiple feminist organizations, including the National Organization for Women in New York, 3 times. His writing encompasses both men's issues and women's issues. Hardly a man you'd expect to be labeled an opponent of women's rights. Dr. Farrell began parting ways with the movement's orthodoxy in the mid-70s, as he stated in a 1997 interview for MinWeb.com, when the National Organization for Women came out against the presumption of joint custody in divorce cases. That position was in conflict with everything the available information on child outcomes following divorce indicates. From his own analysis of research on post-divorce family arrangements, Dr. Farrell identified 3 conditions that are vital to the welfare of children in divorcing families: equally shared parenting, or joint custody, close parental proximity, and no bad-mouthing. He has testified in child custody cases as an expert witness on the basis of this analysis. Why would there be controversy over a speaker with such credentials? Because he does something that is terrifying to ideologues. Rather than view the world in black and white, angel and devil terms, he instead considers facts, analyzes ideas and information, recognizes human tendencies, cares more about probabilities and possibilities than politics, and is focused far more on advancement than on victim narratives. The more apparent that has become, the more establishment feminists have decided they hate him. They don't want to have a conversation with a man who moves right past who has it worse to discuss what is or is not working right, what are the underlying causes, and what can be done about it. That'd be like a discussion about how to roast the goose that laid the golden eggs. So what do they do when the conversation has already been started? 6 years ago, the Canadian Association for Equality organized a lecture by Dr. Farrell at the University of Toronto. Campus feminists, women's studies majors, and the Canadian Union of Public Employees, not a campus organization, staged a protest, raised hell, blocked the doors, threatened attendees, and necessitated police presence due to their aggressive, violent behavior. This response has occurred enough times that men's issue speakers often have had to raise funds for police presence on campuses that have allowed them a platform. This is what it sounds like when gender feminists respond to guys trying to take the time to have a conversation.
Why? Can you shut the fuck up for a second, too?
Fucking scum. You are fucking scum. Fucking rape apologist, incest supporting, woman hating, fucking scum.
Racist. You can go.
HBR Talk.
This hasn't stopped equality groups like Cafe from striving to have that conversation, as feminists claim to want. They have organized numerous events, including other lectures, educational initiatives, and the founding of the Canadian Centre for Men and Families. While there are countless such organizations for women, prior to the opening of the center, there was no central place to address men's issues, and few places even willing to assist men fleeing family violence. The Center is Canada's first organization specifically for abused men, rather than adding men on as an afterthought to services reserved mainly for women. The organization is not political, but has been accused by established women's organizations anyway. When Cafe talks about men's issues and the lack of available resources for men in comparison to the wealth of resources available to women, gender feminists respond not by agreeing that men deserve resources as well, but by accusing the organization of attacking women's resources. Obviously, this is intended to address such controversial statements as, initiatives to combat violence against women are necessary and praiseworthy, but policies should be built on facts rather than bound by ideologies. In light of their outrage, it is evident that at least the establishment body of gender feminists consider anything that gets too close to an egalitarian approach to human rights, and resources for those whose human rights are violated, to be an attack on feminism. This is why they oppose and protest against any effort to bring men into the conversation on gender issues as equally deserving human rights activists. During the 6 years since the initial Toronto protest, Cafe has been weathering establishment attacks on its reputation and initiatives, continuing to promote a non-exclusive examination of these issues, to, in other words, have that conversation. On November 16, 6 years to the day after the meme-spawning protest of his original talk, Cafe has organized another lecture by Dr. Warren Farrell at the University of Toronto. We've invited co-founder Justin Trottier to discuss this event and its history tonight on HBR Talk.